Nobody knows it, but you've got a secret smile, and you use it only for me.
Singer Watch, day 45. Do you know the new Bryan Singer news? It's not even new.
He's fired.
It was extremely hot and fresh and new the second that we were talking about the old news. Yeah, he's fired. He's out.
Yeah.
Feelings? Thoughts?
I think he should be fired. I mean, he went AWOL, for goodness sakes.
He had to take care of a dying parent.
Is that what he said?
That's what he says. Fox wouldn't let him.
Well, okay, that's kind of crappy, but...
If it's true.
And...
I mean, what would be the point of lying about that? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a mess. That's concrete. We know that. Now, we were speculating on maybe behind-the-scenes stuff and things that are in contention, which are being considered, are things like at least one, maybe two of his accusers, I think, have renewed their lawsuits against him.
Okay.
In the wake of this, like on Monday or Tuesday. This one kid, I don't know, you can Google it, is releasing a book. Or was it an article? Very informed. But at this point, better than most news outlets. Anyway, detailing his long relationship with Bryan Singer when he was 17 or 18. And so...
Oh, my goodness.
There's that... I want to see that movie. Forget the Freddie Mercury movie. That's going to be a movie for sure. But he's been replaced with Dexter Fletcher.
Who's that?
No clue.
Okay.
No, that's not true. He is a former actor. I think he was in like some Guy Ritchie movies or something. He directed Eddie the Eagle. And so he's taking over. He's a director. And so that's what's going on with that.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how that film turns out.
I was speculating, and I'll say this. I'll just say what I was going to say. I was talking on our Twitch channel, actually on our YouTube channel, but we're also on Twitch, which I'm going to talk about later in the show. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
Speculating on Singer's connection to the X-Men films. I mean, he's not directing them anymore, but you don't. Once you're EP forever.
Right.
You think Alan Fine is like out there pounding the pavement trying to get some money for these Marvel projects? No, it's in perpetuity. So what happens to his association with the X-Men and like those Fox films?
That's a really good question. Like,
do they take his name off it, or can you at this point? Because as far as, a smoking gun sticker, Lisa Frank Diary, Roy Moore situation, like Bryan Singer's been the guy who's just ghosted this whole thing. Like, there are plenty of rumors, but nobody's got anything on him really.
Right.
So either this is a horrible predator who has gotten away with it for years, or this is a guy who everybody has the wrong idea about and people want to leave him alone.
It's one or the other.
Burn him anyway. Right? That's what a good mob does. No, I mean, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just reporting.
Right.
But that's a pretty interesting article I read about that thing that might be a book. But I know it's an article. I know I read the article. I just don't remember what it is. So anyway, yeah, that's good. Things seem to have calmed down on that front, though.
Yeah.
Haven't heard any bombshells.
No.
Lately.
No bombshells lately.
Terry Crews did end up suing that one guy. Good
for him.
Yeah.
As he should.
Yeah. And I like the fact that I'm complimenting the guy, and there's many, many strong women who are doing the right thing. This is what I thought of recently. Terry Crews is doing the right thing by making it a legal matter when he could just go, take it out of the guy's ass.
Right.
I'm just, the balls. I know they say that like sexual assault is a crime about power. It's not about sex.
It's true.
I guess. I think there's probably some sex, but it's really about power. And I think that is exemplified by like a 5'4" little nebbish guy, like grabbing Terry Crews' butt. Like,
yeah,
literally cannot see death staring them in the face. Like he could use you like a Q-tip. Do you know what I mean? And
yes.
And he could destroy you. But yeah, so he's taken the correct legal avenues on that. And well, he should.
Yes.
I know that was bad news. We have a lot of good news.
Yes, we do.
There's a lot of good news. We are the Just Enough Trope podcast. I'm your host, Caliban, joined as always by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mika and Hana.
I'm going to hit a little bit of news today. There's some good news, like I said. I don't want to do a whole trailer thing, but maybe we'll squeeze a couple trailer reviews into our news.
Okay, sounds good.
Because although December is spoken for.
Yes.
It's already spoken for, but there are... it's also a good time for trailers to come out.
Yes.
For stuff that's coming out next summer. Or later. And so we've got some trailers to talk about there. And, of course, speaking of big blockbuster properties, and which almost 95% of which are all Marvel films these days, we have a Marvel property to talk about today on Comic Book Club, which is Secret Wars. Wait a minute. Secret Wars 3. Wait a minute. Secret Wars 4.
Really?
Technically. Or sometimes it's called Doom's Secret Wars. And although he was in... the other ones too. So anyway, it's 2015. Ghostbusters 2016. Secret Wars 2015.
Okay.
AKA the end of the Marvel Universe. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about that at the end of the show or in the last segment of the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Cal. Looking forward to talking about our comic this week.
I think it's a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is a big deal.
I know I said that about last week's comic, Seven Soldiers, which was 30 issues. This is only like 9 and 1/4.
Yes.
And yet I feel almost more impactful. Or was at least intended to be.
It's a huge deal.
Was intended to be.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about whether or not it really was when we get to Comic Book Club. But first, we got to go through the news. Like I was saying before we started, or right when we started, I'm saying right now.
Yeah.
It's been a long week. I'm trying to keep my head on straight. We are trying to get more streaming stuff up, also just videos up on our YouTube channel. So you can check that out by searching for Just Enough Trope. Also, there's a social media little clicky icon link on justenoughtrope.com. But I had a short news video that we did, and then I've been trying to play around with a little streaming. And so the streaming is me playing video games and talking about some of the news items that don't make it into the news segment. And we're not quite there yet, but I've got a wheel of fortune sort of set up where I've got 9 or 10 games on the wheel. I spin the wheel, and whichever I land on, that's the one I have to play.
Nice.
And I'll be streaming that on Twitch and on YouTube. And there's a game on there. There's 8 games. There's Dealer's Choice, and then there's a game that I don't want to play. Why would you put that on there? That's what you do. There have to be stakes for it to be a game. These are all games that I want to play because my backlog is huge, so I figured this would be a good way to sort of start plugging through it.
Sure.
The best way to alleviate indecision is just to roll a die, right? We're gamers. And so that's what I'm doing, but I do have a game on there I don't want to play. And so we'll see if I land on that one, how that works out. Anyway, let's get to the news. Let's see here. Did you know about Night Vale? Welcome to Night Vale.
What about Welcome to Night Vale?
FX is turning it into a TV show.
Oh, okay.
It was announced recently that it will be developed for a series for FX. And it is also, they have a couple books. They've also signed a deal for 2 more books.
Okay, well, good for them. Business is good.
Super out of touch.
Yeah, me too.
But I still feel like, are we still doing?
Is it still popular?
I feel like 5 years ago when I was going to like live Night Vale shows, the 17-year-old kids who on Tumblr that really love Night Vale are like married now, right? Do they still care about Night Vale?
Sure.
Do things work like that? All those Vine stars that we were scratching our heads like, who are these people? Nobody knows who they are now, right? So I'm just amazed that look, I like Night Vale, although, like I said, I probably haven't watched it, or listened to it in 3 or 4 years. But they're not Steely Dan. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like the shelf life of these things are, is low, is less. So is this a mistake on FX's part? Like, let's get this property that was not that's not hot anymore, or is it still going? And I don't know because I'm an oldie and I don't know.
I kind of feel like it's still going and it's popular within its circle. Whether it's as popular as it was 5 years ago, I'm not so sure.
That's when you make the TV show.
Yeah.
Like, you could, oh, here's something else. Looks like Stars wants to have a Strong Bad show.
Right.
It'd be like, it's train has sailed on that one.
Yeah. I don't know, because I'm out of touch too, so
Okay.
it's hard for me to
Well,
say.
I was giving you credit. I was trying to go to you. But you are an
That's
oldie
your first mistake.
as well.
Yeah.
Looks like Twitch users, I was just talking about Twitch, are getting angry about about booby streamers.
What?
Which sounds like a great party favor. No, it's girls who are streaming, and I guess they're not like playing games, or they. It's kind of like, all right, so it's sort of like the fake geek girl argument, because I'm sure that a lot of Twitch users complained about female streamers before they were showing their boobs.
Sure.
You're not playing the game right. You know you're doing your girl. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they might have a point on this one in that some of these streamers are sort of violating Twitch rules of conduct, which are, no boobs, please. Keep it to games, that sort of thing. And so I think a lot of these streamers are getting traffic by going, yeah, we're going to play some Mario. Oh, I'm wearing a bikini. Oh, like that sort of thing.
Okay.
So in an unrelated production note, I need to talk to you about our Twitch stream. I have a couple ideas.
Hey.
Push things forward. But so anyway, sadly, we don't have that kind of content. But we've got me talking about news and playing. I was playing Everspace the other day and getting my ass shot up in a spaceship. So check us out if you get sick of the booby streamers. You never ever will. What else have we got going on? Let's just talk about those trailers. Let's just do it right now.
Okay,
I
sure.
think probably the biggest news is that the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom trailer is out.
Yes.
This is one of those things that I have a job, and so I am doing my job, but it doesn't mean that I have to smile while I do it. Like the girl at Starbucks that gives me my chai latte every morning. What'd you think?
I mean, we've done it already, right? It's just more of the same, except this time the island is exploding and we're trying to get the dinosaurs off.
Oh, we didn't know
of it.
that we had built a theme park on this volcanic island.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, better people. Okay, here's Trojan Horse. Here's what I really want to talk about.
Sure.
Everybody hates Jurassic World now.
Finally.
I was the only person I knew who was like, this is horseshit. Why do you like this? And everyone's like, oh, it's great. It's fun. Turn your brain off. It's fun. Now this comes out, and people are almost universally negative. They all think that it's, Jeff Goldblum's back. It's pandering. He's literally saying life finds a way. Come on.
Yes.
And, that sort of thing. And they're like, I mean, but why would we expect this to be good after Jurassic World? What are you talking about?
Jurassic World was huge.
I had 6 refills on my crazy pills. What are you talking? You all love Jurassic World.
Yeah. I was really
talk me down.
I was really stubborn and continued to watch it even after.
Oh yeah, I didn't
left the
finish it.
room.
Yeah, I just quit because I was like, this is no good. I didn't even make it to the running in the heels scene.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was
Aren't things that are
absolutely
bad
terrible.
just bad? I feel like really good things, there's no debate. Maybe if they're some kind of transgressive art, there are people that'll say right off the bat, Lolita is trash. It's about pedophilia or whatever. It's like, well, it's not what it's about a guy who was a pedophile. And do you think the book doesn't judge him for that? Is that what you're saying? You think that it endorses pedophilia? You think that you really think that's what it's saying? Have you read the book at all? No, you don't know what you're talking about. I can understand that is a contentious issue, and so there's an argument. But anybody who is supporting it, however they feel, is saying it's an amazing book. When we have these things like Jurassic World or Rogue One or whatever, that just jumped in my mind for some reason, where you've got people like, no, let me tell you why it's good. Good things don't have to be explained why they're good. We all like them. I know one guy, and I'll skip to the end and give you the explanation that he is, he goes by the beat of his own drum.
Sure.
He's opinionated, who didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy. And he went on Facebook and he's like, I didn't really like Guardians. Who's with me? And everybody's like,
Crickets.
Yeah, I don't know what I can do. I mean, I can tell you all the good things, but really, you just didn't we all like it? Like, we all liked it, right? And it's maybe that's what, I don't know. Maybe that's, I feel outside of that when there's something like Jurassic World that everybody likes and I don't. But that's what I'm trying to prove mathematically, and it's impossible, is that Rogue One is bad. Because the only people defending it were the Star Wars fanboys. And they had to show me mathematically with an outline why it's good. And I'm like, if I just watched it and went, man, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Like Force Awakens. A lot of problems, not strong. But you sit down and watch it and you're like, I'm having fun.
You're excited about
this is little marshmallows.
Yeah.
Like they're eating candy. We're having fun. Right, exactly.
But
Life
Rogue One is just like, and then storytelling.
And then storytelling?
Yeah, we were talking about it like from South Park.
Oh, and then, yeah. Well, it's more like, member berries.
Member berries?
Yeah, to reference another South Park thing. Like, it's got AT-ATs. You love AT-ATs.
Yeah.
Darth Vader, he chokes people. Yeah. Yeah, I got it. And you're trying to establish like this new interesting bad guy, and his best scene, it takes place with Darth Vader in it. It's like he's already been upstaged in his own film. This is a show from 2 years ago. We don't need to do this now. We can talk real quick though about The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Still don't know if it's plural. I think we do now know that it's singular, so I don't know what's going on in Sweden because they translated it to be plural, but whatever. That was
really
fake news. It was fake news. The early reports are in. I'm assuming these are people who went to the premiere, which was this weekend, and were allowed to, give
thumbs
smiles,
up,
smizes up or smizes down.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it. But then, what are they going to say?
Yeah. It's Star Wars. Everybody's going to say they love
and
Star
I will
Wars.
tell you, here's my 14-point plan as to why it is good.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't know. We talking about trailers? Anyway, we'll say that we will have a review of Star Wars The Last Jedi on our next show.
Yes.
Next weekend. Other trailers. There's a trailer out for Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
The animated Spider-Man movie. This is the Lord and Miller joint.
Oh, yay.
It's coming out. It's a little early. It's coming out next Christmas.
Yes.
Not this one, but the next. And the trailer features Miles Morales.
Which is exciting.
It is exciting, and it's like it's the worst reveal. I mean, I guess for somebody who knows absolutely nothing, goes to Homecoming and is like, isn't that skateboarder guy Spider-Man? Like, is just not plugged into this stuff at all. They would be surprised that a little black kid is Spider-Man.
Right.
But everybody else is like, okay.
Miles Morales, right?
Huge reveal.
Yeah.
Not really.
No.
And it's Into the Spider-Verse, and we do see, I'm assuming, Peter Parker at the end. So I have to imagine that a Spider-Gwen trailer is on its way.
That would be great.
And there'd better be a Spider-Ham one. I better see Peter Porker in this thing, or I am going to go apeshit. But anyway, that looks exciting, and a review of that in a year or so. And then a trailer for Alita, Battle Angel. And you go, what's that? I go, well, it's an adaptation of the comic, Battle Angel Alita.
Yeah.
But that's too confusing.
Apparently. So we have to switch it around.
Why do people have to mess with everything? So anyway,
they just have to get their jam hands all over everything.
They
That's
absolutely
all.
do. And the funny thing is that other than that, watching the trailer, and it's been a while now, but we read Battle Angel Alita for the show a while ago. Like, it's clearly they are going for one of those like Zack Snyder Watchmen-esque faithful adaptations.
Yeah.
Like, there are settings and scenes, characters straight from the book. And even to the point where, don't get me wrong, Masher, I feel bad, I can't pronounce his name. M. Ali, Cottonmouth.
Yes.
He's, and the Midnight guy, is in it, and he plays the one character who's like one of the crime bosses in the junkyard or whatever, and he's black and he wears sunglasses, and they cast a black guy wearing sunglasses. Now, they could have cast him in any other role anyway, because he's super hot right now, and he's what you want him in your movie.
Right.
But I also think that they went, well, this guy's a black guy. Let's get the hot black guy to play the black guy. Boom, done.
Right.
I'm not saying that's how they should do colorblind casting, but they really, really want this to look like the comic, only be in color. And
absolutely.
The biggest evidence of them wanting to do that is giving Alita a big crazy face. What's going on?
I know.
What's wrong with your face?
They gave her anime eyes,
What is happening?
except she's got like a realistic face. It's
No,
not an anime.
It doesn't matter how many pores you have. Like, you've got Avatar face.
Yes.
And why?
It's I
think
know,
that
it's
James Cameron
terrifying.
paid $1.5 billion for his 3D cameras, and by God, he's going to use them.
Probably. Absolutely.
It doesn't make any sense. And there are other characters. It looks like, again, we said faithful adaptation. It looks like they're adapting like the first 2 volumes. And my thing is, and I think you'd agree with me, cut to Motorball. Start with Motorball.
Yeah.
Motorball is clearly the selling point here. Motorball is the Dark Knight to your Batman Begins of, oh, I fell in love with Yuko or whatever, the little boy's name or whatever that she falls in love with.
Yeah.
Skip that. Get to Motorball. But anyway, that guy's in it. There's the one, I don't remember any of their names, but there's the one guy who's like a cyborg and he's kind of a jerk and he's like kind of messes with Alita in the cowboy bar or whatever.
Yes.
He's played by Ed Skrein for some reason. He's entire robot body, normal face, Ed Skrein face.
Yeah.
So if you're Rosa Salazar, the young, pretty actress who's hired to play Alita, and they go, great, looking good, entire face has got to go. You have to be like, what the fuck? What?
How are people
Why
going to
can't I just be a normal
me?
human being?
I know. I mean, she has a robot
Can't
body.
I just be a normal girl? No, you can't. Yeah, exactly. Her body is already crazy and weird.
Were
and
they
she's...
worried it was going to look too much like Ex Machina or something like that?
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, I think, maybe. But I think that they really did just go, look, here's what she looks like. And you're right. That looks like, it's like when they do those weird 3D Simpsons, you know, when they go, this is what the Simpsons would look like if they were a computer. And it's like, oh my God, no.
Terrifying.
Right. Christoph Waltz is just a guy.
Yeah.
He's not a 7-foot-tall weird beanpole with a long nose like Ito is or whatever in the book. He's just Christoph Waltz.
Yes.
Sir Waltz. Who, by the way, somebody get to that guy.
Why?
Here's my theory. And I think I said this on Twitch, so I'm repeating myself. But so the thing about that I always heard growing up about Europe, especially East Europe and Germany, is that, you know, they always get things, you know, the trends and everything a few years late. So they're really into, like, you know, the Rachel is probably just going out of style over there.
Okay, sure.
Not the sandwich, the haircut, you know.
Yes.
Or like, oh, they love those slap bracelets still or whatever. Maybe he's got that for like directors because he seems real hot to work with all these hot directors that were hot like 10, 15 years ago. He's like, yes, I will be in a Terry Gilliam movie. He doesn't know that Terry Gilliam is pretty much like washed up now. So he makes this movie and he's like, it's a Terry Gilliam movie. Brazil. Yeah, Brazil was like 1982, pal. Like it's kind of done.
That was a while ago.
He lucked out with Tarantino because Tarantino was hot 20 years ago, but is still kind of hot.
Yes.
But now he's like, I would be in the James Cameron, Robert Rodriguez movie. It's like, yeah, but the last Robert Rodriguez movie was like Spy Kids 8. And now you're going to be in Battle Angel Alita. You don't have to do this. You have 2 Oscars. You could do whatever you want.
Yes.
You don't have to be in just big blockbusters for like formerly great directors.
Is anybody else slightly creeped out that he's like the fatherly professor type and he
It's already weird in the comic.
Plays like kind of weird creepos?
No. What do you mean?
I don't know. I guess I'm thinking of mostly of him playing a Nazi, and he was so good in that role.
He's got range.
Yeah.
Severe German guy playing the Nazi. I mean, it's already weird in the book because Alita is just to be a teenager, although that gets, if you know her backstory, that doesn't make any sense. It's weird. And then, you know, Ito is, you know, like a middle-aged guy, or at least an adult guy, and he's like, oh, I love her, but I can never tell her. You know what? Don't. Don't tell her. It's probably fine. Just let it go. So anyway, I mean, I can say good things about it. Other than all that stuff, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Already, you know, I've got spiders in my brain about the fact that, you know, I smell Watchmen on it and that they want it to be this other thing so bad. And it's clearly all on green screen sets. And, you know, we've been burned. Fool me 8 or 9 times. Shame on me. But that being said, yeah, I mean, okay. I'm normal. I'll give you my heart. Rips her heart out. Somehow worked in the comic. Really weird on the screen.
Yeah.
So I would say if you really want to hook people, de-emphasize weird Avatar face. There's clearly some awesome, robot kung fu in this. I can't wait for that trailer. I think that trailer is going to blow everybody away. Right now, it's don't buy risky. I don't know if I would go with this one. Marvel's Jessica Jones season 2 premiere is set.
Okay.
It's going to drop on March 8th, 2018, and there is a trailer as well. We didn't watch that one.
No, we didn't.
I bet it's something like this. I don't feel like a superhero. And then this time, like, just kind of echoing in the background. Jessica. She'll be haunted by the memory of Kilgrave and David Tennant appearing in 2 to 3 episodes of flashbacks.
Yes.
Where do they go? Where do they go now?
I'd like to see her actually solving cases. Like in the comic book.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. What do we got? We've got... Can they do Rick Jones?
Sure. Why not?
Who owns Rick Jones? Marvel's never tried to do Rick Jones.
I don't know.
I just realized that. Kree Skrull War. Who owns Captain Marvel? They own Captain Marvel. Where's Rick Jones? I bet Rick Jones is going to be in the Brie Larson movie.
Okay.
Doesn't make any sense, really, but... Mega bands.
Why not?
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so she meets Rick Jones. It doesn't really work. I mean, you have to know who Rick Jones is in order to... You can't just explain that to Netflix viewers. They don't care. They could do that one story where... Because this is the Rick Jones story where she's... The end of it is great. Bendis has his moments where she goes to the coffee shop and she meets this guy and they're talking and she's telling him this whole story about meeting this guy who says he's Rick Jones, but it doesn't add up. And then at the end, she thinks that he's just lying. She's like, why do people do that? Why would you just lie and say that you're somebody else? And the guy's like, I'm a psychologist. People they can't control it sometimes. They just feel compelled to lie and they just want to escape and be somebody else. And she's like, yeah, your wife knows you're gay. Go home to her. She wants a divorce and work it out. And yeah, so anyway, something like that.
Yeah.
Or Jessica.
More Jessica.
More Nuke. Let's get some more Nuke in there. Silence.
I don't remember Nuke.
So memorable. Nuke is the guy he's the blonde guy, remember?
No, I don't remember.
He beats him up. They beat him up in her apartment or whatever.
They beat him up?
I don't know. Do we want to waste tape on this? There's a whole storyline where Kilgrave, takes over this cop to like protect him and like shoot Jessica or whatever, but she like knocks the guy out and then Kilgrave gets away and the guy wakes up and he's like, what was that? Oh, I was like, I got to help you. And you think, this is just a one-off guy. We've seen Kilgrave have people jump off buildings or whatever. Like, we never come back to these people. But this guy keeps hanging around. And then he, like, meets Patsy. And then, like, they become, like...
Oh.
Like, F-buddies.
Okay, yes.
But then we also find out that he has, like, a secret military background. And then he's... he's the Nuke character from Born Again and Daredevil. And it's like, why is this in here? And it's because we want to do a thing where he starts getting real controlling. And he's like, I'll take care of you. And it's like, I'll take care of myself. And she's got to kick him in the face. And it's like I like, stories about female empowerment and, like, fighting back against guys like this. But, man, you're just taking... You guys didn't have enough story to fill... 13 episodes, did you? You had to do this.
I guess not.
And then, like, Patsy starts taking the red drugs or whatever. She's like, this makes me feel good. It's like, Patsy, no. Patsy, you're a recovery addict. It's dumb. We're going to talk about good stuff.
Yeah.
Here's a good thing. John Berg, he's fired. John Berg is the head of DC Films after Justice League is a failure. It took... over 2 weeks for it to cross the 200 million mark. That is not good for a movie that easily cost, I'd say, $350 million. Maybe in
holy cow,
in the market of 5 after P&A. So he's out, or at least he's vacating his position. So I mean that basically means put your stuff in a box,
bye-bye,
or a bunch of boxes. Because I assume he's got a really big thing. And so Warner Brothers is kind of up in the air right now. I don't think that they are ready to call it quits, but they're definitely trying to figure things out and move things around. What I want to know is,
Yeah.
Why don't you get rid of Jeff Johns? Why does everybody think that he's still the guy to carry this forward? John Berg is just a guy who just stamps things and shakes hands, and he's not like the creative force here.
No,
why not get rid of the guy who signs off on horrible storylines, who lets Zack Snyder run wild, who writes bad storylines himself, who enables David S. Goyer to do what he's going to do? Why not get rid of if the movies are bad, get rid of the guy who signs off on the movies,
right? Not
the guy who just signs the checks.
No,
the wrong head is rolling, in my opinion.
Okay.
I bet Bendis is like,
why would he?
Excuse me. I've produced a TV show. It's about characters with powers. They didn't want me over at Marvel, so yeah. We'll see what happens with that. Anything else you want to talk about? This is something that you don't care, but we'll talk about for fans of video games. Looks like The Witcher, the famous series of games based on the less famous series of books, Polish books, is getting a Netflix adaptation. And Lauren Schmidt-Hisrich, who is a writer on the Netflix Daredevil series, will be the showrunner for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aren't there movies?
Not really, no.
No?
Well, there's Polish ones, but there's no American TV property or movie property.
I don't know what I'm thinking of then. Like The Witcher, Are
you thinking of a guy with white hair who fights monsters?
Maybe.
And loves ladies?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe you know something I don't.
Okay, maybe not.
No. Have you seen any of the art? And by art, I mean that's an industry term for photographs of the Dark Phoenix production.
No, I haven't.
Some of those are out, and we've seen that Sophie Turner, of course, is becoming the Phoenix.
Okay.
And, I don't know, other stuff. There's been some story details.
That's a huge reveal, though.
It looks like they'll start the film with the X-Men, coming back on a space shuttle, kind of like an X-Men 100, and they get hit with a solar flare, and that'll be what sort of sparks off her powers. I don't think they're going to do a Phoenix as an alien thing. They'll just, she's got powers.
Okay.
Did someone say my name? Brian, not now. And then Jessica Chastain will play a shapeshifter, and now nobody has any idea about anything.
They're just throwing their hands up in the air.
In the picture, she's blonde. She was going to be Lilandra.
She's blonde.
We do know that she's an alien. Well, again, is she blonde in another movie? It's a ScarJo thing.
I don't know.
She is an alien, but she's an alien shapeshifter, and so nobody even knows anything now. She's Lilandra, right? They're just going to say, Jess didn't want to do feathers on her face the whole movie, and so if Jennifer Lawrence doesn't have to do it, she's not going to do it.
Sure.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Well, I hope, she's something substantial, because it would be weird if she was just, sorceress number one or something like that.
Yeah, I think that she's going to have a name, I think.
Okay.
I think they're hiding it until
it's
a John Harrison situation.
Okay.
No, they'll definitely use her. That's one thing that the film series has done well, is that they have, I don't know about well, but they've definitely cast talented, famous people to be villains, and then they let them run.
That's true.
Your Peter Dinklages, if you are interested in that, or your Oscar Isaacs.
Yes.
Wear this silly putty on your face. It's a Power Rangers sequel nobody told you. That's the situation there.
Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
It's not Secret Wars. It's not Secret Wars 2. It's not Secret Wars 3. It's kind of Secret Wars 4.
Yeah.
What do you know about Secret Wars?
Well,
did you know
they're secret?
That kids love the word secret.
Is that what the markets told them?
This is a real thing.
Okay.
Do you know who Jim Shooter is?
I
want to
know
do
the
a
name.
Jim Shooter podcast. It's just Jim Shooter all the time. Jim Shooter, he was actually an editor at DC as well, but he was an editor-in-chief at Marvel for a long time. I think like late 70s through pretty much all the 80s, I believe. I'll have to check on that. And he's kind of a divisive figure. It's funny that I got to stay on track here, but it's funny that you want your editor-in-chief to be divisive. I want him to be screaming for pictures of Spider-Man. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you've got an editor that is just like, that's fine. You're not doing your job. And it's funny that that's exactly who Joe Quesada is. Like, I mean, I've never heard of anybody saying a bad word about Joe Quesada or vice versa.
Right.
And he has presided over the most success Marvel has ever seen, ever at all, anytime ever, except maybe like the early 90s when I think Shooter might have been up there. So is he doing a good job, or did they just let the commercial aspects take the wheel?
Right.
Well, anyway, that's how we got Secret Wars. I believe it's Mattel. Don't at me. It's Mattel, I think, is a toy company, and Marvel hooked up with them to create some kind of property. They wanted to create toys. They were doing this because, or Mattel is He-Man, though. You're the one that's computer open all the time. Anyway, doesn't matter. A big toy company at the time decided that they wanted to match the sales of something like He-Man. And so they came to Marvel Comics and said, let's do a thing. Can you guys do like a comic or something? It'd be a big deal. And at this point, the crossover was really in its infancy. We're talking early 80s. This is like 84, 85. There was Contest of Champions, but as we learned from Stephen Grant, that was kind of a lark. Like, it was just a thing. Oh, that's fun. You've got Red Guardian, fighting, I don't know, D-Man or something like that. These whole things, like Crisis came later. Crisis was like 85, 86. And now all you have is every single issue of everything ever is just some big event. And we've got event fatigue. But this is way back in the day when this wasn't a thing. So it was exciting to have all of the superheroes come together and fight for some reason. And so they combined it with these toys. And the toys, that really had nothing to do with what was going on in the series, were available. I had a bunch of them. They were pretty awesome toys. I'll tell you that much.
All right.
Wolverine had claws that snapped onto his wrists, and came out because they didn't have the claw come out technology, even though Star Wars figures, they had lightsabers that came out of their arms. Hello?
Right.
Whatever. And they had these little shields with hologram stickers you could put in there. And
that's pretty cool.
Everything was great until I lost one of Wolverine's claws in one of the holes on my big wheel. And I couldn't get it out.
Oh, no. That's the worst thing ever.
Well, yeah. And so it's gone. When you're a kid, it's gone. Now I just bust that effer open. You know what I mean? And get that claw out. But anyway, so yeah. And again, I think it's Mattel, did a poll, focus group, as I'm sure a lot of 80s toys did, or even not now toys do.
Right.
And they found out that kids like the word secret. So Jim Shooter's like, we can handle that. Takes a big puff of a cigar. No problem. We can handle that. Secret Wars. It's called Secret War. And I'm going to write it. And he wrote it.
Okay.
He wrote a 12-issue series called Secret Wars that featured heroes, a lot of your favorite heroes, a lot of your favorite villains, all being taken to this planet called Battle World, where chunks of all these other planets from all over the galaxy were thrown together to make this planet. And this creature called the One from Beyond said, I've just learned about your universe. Interesting. Fight for my pleasure. And whoever wins can get their heart's desire or whatever.
Okay.
And so it goes on for 12 issues. And yeah, they do things like introduce this great jet that they're going to fly around. That sure would be a good toy. And probably the most lasting, except for what we're about to talk about, but the most lasting effect of this was Spider-Man's costume got torn and he got a new costume.
Okay.
That was black.
All right.
And made of an alien symbiote.
Right.
And nothing ever went wrong after that.
No. Nothing ever did.
Yeah. So fast forward a couple years, that was pretty big. It took off. It was had a lot of notoriety, but sold a lot as well. And Shooter went, let's do it again. So they had Secret Wars 2, which I really like Secret Wars 2. I know it's totally stupid, but for me,
really?
that's the schlocky comics that I really get into and enjoy. Would you call that Bronze Age? I'm not sure exactly what you would call that, and the Beyonder comes to Earth, takes human form with Michael Jackson hair. Spider-Man teaches him to poop. And then
great.
There are a lot of hijinks that happen, and it's the kind of it's the kind of thing where he is a petulant, angry god, and he can, and often does, destroy the universe with a thought. And it's the kind of bad guy that isn't just, oh, the Vulture's robbing a bank again. It's like, what can we do? What do we do against this?
Right.
That kind of storytelling probably got its pinnacle or its peak with Infinity War, when Thanos, assembled the Infinity Gauntlet saga.
Sure.
And so that's kind of what you're up against, and yet it's still silly. The Beyonder needs to find somebody, so he goes to those Jive Turkeys, Iron Fist and Power Man, to hire some heroes. And Power Man's like, "Hey, we need bread. We don't work for free." And he's like, "Oh, if you want money, okay." And he turns their apartment building like solid gold, which for him is something he can do. And then he goes off, and then we go back to their title, and there's like a 3-issue run where now all the mobs are fighting over who gets to control this solid gold apartment building in Harlem.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there were effects that sort of spread out into other comics, but basically just a big weird crossover with a guy that turns into a god baby at the end. And it's very strange. And that led to, technically that led to something that is nicknamed, or I think it's called within the issues. There were a couple issues of Fantastic Four that purported to tell the final chapter of the Beyonder story, and it's called Secret Wars 3. But it was not actually a company-spanning crossover.
Okay.
And then that's it. Nothing else after that, right?
Except for this. Secret Wars.
4. Yep. 9-issue series.
2015.
That's right. 1961 to 2015. R.I.P. the Marvel Universe. We'll get to that. What do you... Are you like Donald Rumsfeld? Do you know that you don't know stuff, or do you not even know that you don't know stuff? Where do you need to start?
Both,
with
because it's hard to know where to start with this.
It is.
There are characters within this that I think that you are supposed to know.
Well, maybe.
And you don't necessarily know.
And you come into this with like no background.
To nothing.
No background.
Yeah.
I come in having read most of Hickman's run on Fantastic Four, all of his Avengers and New Avengers run, leading up to the R.I.P., the end of the Marvel Universe, as we know it. And that's really what this is about. This is complicated, but that's why we're here. This is guy Jonathan Hickman. And he, I like how he is credited on this book as a writer and designer. And there is a design here for sure. And the art is by Esad Ribic, who is like the girl with the curl. When he's good, he's very, very good. When he's bad, he's awful.
I have some things to say about that.
Okay, good. We'll get to it. And so anyway, in the late 2000s, he took over on Fantastic Four and wrote what is considered by many to be one of the premier signature runs of Fantastic Four. And he started a story that had to do with the multiverse and Beyonders and these other forces. And then he shifted to designing and writing the Avengers. And he had a title called The Avengers, which was a reboot of a relaunch of the old Avengers title. And also leading after coming out of Dark Reign and all that. So, in the days of Heroes Reborn. And also a title called New Avengers, which featured the Avengers in name, but was mainly like an exploration of the exploits of the Illuminati. Okay. Which is a collection of the most powerful minds in the Marvel Universe who have gotten together to create this secret society that's like, we're going to take care of stuff before it's even a thing.
Right.
So we're Professor X, we're Namor, we're Captain America, we're T'Challa, and we're going to
Doctor Strange
head off problems before they become a problem. And so he told this story throughout these things. Meanwhile, in Avengers, you've got Tony. Tony creates something which is, I don't ever think it was a literal thing, but he creates this thing called the Avengers machine, which is like a theory about how we should field Avengers, and let's get this guy. Why do you need Sunspot? What's he good for? it all will make sense. I'm thinking 20 steps ahead, and it all fits together in this way. And we learn, and some of my details might be off on this, but I guarantee that they're close. We learn later on that he has been visited by like somebody from the future or something like that, saying, you're all going to die and the Earth is going to explode.
Okay.
So Tony himself is making, choices that are possibly questionable from a moral sense, because he's doing that thing where he's sacrificing, his morality, his soul to save the Earth. And that causes a whole big problem. Then there's another crossover called Infinity, where Thanos comes back, and he sort of brings with him this race called the Builders, who are claimed to be the guys that designed our universe.
Okay.
And so we have a whole space war with them, and they're very powerful. We defeat them just barely, but we learn that they were actually trying to hold back these guys called the Beyonders. And you go, Beyonders? What's that? I thought the Beyonder was just a guy with Michael Jackson hair who was the sum total of another parallel universe. He was that universe that came to our Earth. And it's like, no, we need to retcon that in order for this story to work. So it turns out that the Beyonders are all this race of beings who every single one of them are omnipotent, as the Beyonder was, and can do anything. And they create entire universes. So they created our universe as an experiment, and they've created many other universes. And what that means is that they have created the Ultimate Universe, the Marvel Zombies universe, Hyperion's universe, like Days of Future Past universe, like all these alternate realities. It's Marvel going, we can do it too. This is our crisis. DC has dealt with that for decades, but we've got that as well. And so they go through this whole long story. The Builders are defeated, but they couldn't hold back the Beyonders. The Molecule Man is involved somehow, and these things called incursions start happening, where basically two universes collide with the Earth as their center point, and the two Earths in those universes literally collide, and usually one is destroyed and the other is left all right. And so what the New Avengers, the Illuminati, have to do is they have to start finding ways to stop this. And initially they're like trying to save both universes. Like, we want to save ours and the other universe. And they assemble the Infinity Gauntlet to do this. And they have Cap use it. And Cap uses it, manages to save and preserve both our universe and another universe, but it destroys the gauntlet and all the gems are lost. So they don't have that anymore. And if you read through this series, it's really heartbreaking in a way that Marvel Comics are often... It's the opposite of Secret Wars 2, like I said, where it's all jive turkeys.
Okay.
You see that the heroes continually fail to do what it is that they want to do in a very unheroic way. They want to... And they debate endlessly, which is why they're heroes, about... so we want to preserve all the universes, but maybe we should preserve our universe over other people's?
Right.
So if we run into like the universe where everybody's like a bunny rabbit superhero or something like that, the Quick Bunny universe, maybe it's okay if like they die because we're the ones who are trying to solve this problem. Like, they're not as far as we are at trying to solve this problem. And eventually they get to the point where they decide, all right, let's do it. Let's just go ahead. We found a way where we can destroy the other planet, the other Earth, before they collide. It'll preserve our universe and we'll move forward. And they can't do it. And they basically go, we can't, we thought we could do this. We thought we could make this tough choice. We're deciding to kill, a quadzillion people or whatever. We're not going to do it.
Okay.
That's where Namor steps in. And he's like, I'll do it. Just give it to me. I don't care. Fine. So for a while, they're like, they sort of assuage their own sort of guilt by letting him do it. But eventually that's not enough. By this point... I'll never be able to explain who the Black Swan is, so don't worry about it. But this character, Black Swan, gets together with Terrax, who is the Annihilus, or no, not the Annihilus. He's the his appellation changes all the time. But anyway, he's a guy from the Negative Zone. They hook up with Thanos and his lieutenants, Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive, and they form the Cabal, which is like the evil Illuminati. Okay. And they basically go, these Pennywise, they can't even destroy a universe. And so they go out on their own and start like destroying universes to preserve their own. No problem. Okay. So really, like, this is a huge problem, but the Avengers have really let the ball drop here. Like, they are not doing a very good job, and they are racked with their own guilt, and they are. This is all part. Hickman is so brilliant because this is all part of the problem. They are reluctant to take that power for themselves. They don't want the power over life and death.
Sure.
And that's what leads to Doctor Doom, Molecule Man, and Doctor Strange standing before the Beyonders. And they fashioned, it's a long story, but they fashioned a bomb basically out of other Molecule Mans that they've taken from other, it's a realities. It's a bomb that can kill the Beyonders. And they use it and they destroy and kill the Beyonders. Now the Beyonders' power is free and somebody needs to grab it and take it so they can restore the universes the way that they should be. And Stephen Strange has the opportunity to do it and he refuses it. He can't take it. He feels he doesn't want that much power.
Right.
Luckily, Doctor Doom is there and he's like, I'll take it. Give me the power.
Right.
Sure. Let's go. Take it. So by this time, as we all knew what happened, this is where issue 1 picks up. Earth 1610, the Marvel or the Ultimate Universe, and Earth 616, our universe, the old swinging Spider-Man Marvel Universe, are now colliding, and the heroes of two worlds have to fight to preserve their own Earth, and it doesn't work out.
No.
Exactly. They end up neutralizing each other. We already know that if one Earth doesn't survive, they both are destroyed, and so in a pretty dark end to the first issue of this miniseries, both Earths are destroyed, and that's it. That's the end of the universe.
Yeah.
That's the end of the multiverse. It's over.
Right.
And when I turned the last page, and there was an epitaph for 2 universes on that affected me. I found that affecting.
Yeah.
For somebody to kick down my door, come into my room, and tell me the things that you love are dead. They're over. Captain America's dead. And he's not going to come back because Crossbow shot him with a time bullet or something like that. There isn't any more Captain America. It's over. It was like, whoa. Yeah. I was not thinking about it like that.
No, I wasn't thinking about it like that when it happened.
Although I love the fact that, how did our universe lose? Because 616 mopped the floor with the Ultimates. And honestly, they would, right? But yeah. So that's where we're at. Now, what are the commercial concerns? Well, there's one of these crossovers every 2 seconds, so there's that.
Right.
Ultimate comics were huge 10, 15 years ago, and they're dead now. Nobody cares about them. Nobody reads the Ultimate comics, and nobody's really writing them. They've really dropped off. They don't exist anymore, but they had really dropped off through Marvel's creative wing. But you've got the Maker. That seems to be a standout character. You've got Miles Morales.
Right.
Do we really want to let that go? And so, really, this is built out of commercial concerns. Did you sacrifice 2 universes and essentially everything that's happened in Marvel all the way back to 1961 to get one little black kid into your universe? You couldn't have just... He's literally met Spider-Man before. You couldn't just walk through a portal or something? You had to destroy the entire company to do this?
It seems that way, doesn't it?
I'm not saying that's all it is. But, I was thinking about this the other day, and I will try to shut up so we can both talk about this, but this is my last point about the structure of this, is that clearly there are commercial concerns here. People in pinstripe suits with cigars and blue shirts, and here's how you know they're really rich. They've got white collars. You know that blue shirt with the white collar? Yeah.
Yes.
Pocket square, red.
Yeah.
Red paisley pocket square. Those guys are pulling the strings, and they go, all right, typewriter monkey, write me something, and it's got to have this, this, and this. So there's a reason that Maximus is in this. Do you know what I mean? There's a reason that Thanos, who in 2 years or 3 years will be in a huge Marvel movie, are in this.
Yeah.
But there's a reason Doctor Doom is the main guy behind this. There's a reason that Reed Richards is the guy that saves everybody. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And when you say, I think that there is truth in both. Marvel is just, they're raping their catalog to support their movies, and there's truth in, what are you talking about? The biggest crossover that's happened in the last 20 years is about the Fantastic Four.
It is about the Fantastic Four.
It is. But I think that is the people who are not in power. That is the people who are chained to the desk with the typewriters fighting back and getting what they can. Because the ultimate argument is, if Ike Perlmutter loves the Fantastic Four so much, where's the fucking Fantastic Four comic book?
Right.
It doesn't exist.
Right.
So if they really cared, it would exist, and it doesn't. But you've got guys like, and I'll say it, like Brian Michael Bendis. You've got guys like Joe Quesada. You've got guys like Jonathan Hickman who are laboring under these restrictions to not have a Fantastic Four anymore, to push the Inhumans, to stop using the X-Men and stuff. They are fighting back, and they are giving them, if they have to put them to death, they're going to give them the best Viking funeral like there ever was.
Right.
And that's where this comes from, I think.
Okay.
And why you'll never see it on screen, at least not until that Disney-Fox merger is wrapped up. And if you've got Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, it'll be Kang making Chronopolis, which is a collection. It won't be Battle World. There won't be Doom. Doom won't even be in the game. It'll be a bunch of other characters.
Okay.
Disappointing. So anyway, some of our heroes managed to create a ship, a life raft.
Yes.
And they managed to escape. Where are they going?
I don't know.
Where are they going?
They don't know.
No. Everything is gone.
Yes.
I don't know.
And I don't even know how they escaped.
They don't talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, where are they escaping to?
I don't know.
Into nothing. So anyway, they escape. They didn't know that Doom was doing this whole thing. And there's a whole side thing where there's a long running story where you find out that, so the Black Swan is this character that like shows up on a world before it's going to get destroyed.
Okay.
And so that's one thing. There's a bunch of black swans. They all do this. They're the herald of the apocalypse, basically. And then there's other creatures called the map cartographers or something like that. And there's these weird alien races that show up when a incursion's going to happen. And you find out that there's this whole, there's all these like other aliens and scavengers that show up. And the black swans are part of this order that are like hunting down molecule mans, basically. Because we find out, we're giving the whole thing away, but we'll talk about individual character moments in a little bit. We find out that the Beyonders' plan was that Owen Reese got his powers supposedly because he was exposed to the Beyonders universe. But it turns out that they just gave him powers, and Owen Reese is a weird thing in that there is one of him, he exists in every like reality simultaneously.
Okay.
And he's got Beyonder power. And he was in the other Secret Wars crossovers. But when the Beyonders want to destroy a universe, they like blow him up. Like when he dies, that universe becomes destabilized and then it collides into another universe.
Okay.
And Doom finds this out because he and the Molecule Man take Doom's time machine. Yeah, Doom's got a time machine. What about it? And they go back in time 25 years and they find out all this stuff. And they realize that if they can go around and kill Molecule Mans before the Beyonders have a chance to, they can take some of that power. The problem is it's going to drive Owen Reese, the Molecule Man, insane.
Okay.
Big deal.
That's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem, but so what? So they start doing that, and Doom realizes that he has 25 years to come up with some plan to beat the Beyonders, and so he pretends to be this godlike creature, I can't remember what the name is, but he's the figure that the Black Swans worship. So he creates this entire fake religion to inspire the Black Swans to go to other planets and kill Molecule Men to do the work for them so they can collect the energy.
Jeez.
And so you find out that he's been working on this the whole time. And Reed Richards is like, we got him on the lifeboat. And like, meanwhile, Doom for 25 years has gone back on his own timeline and has been living through this, like coming up with this plan to put them in that moment where they could take the Beyonders' power and stop this from happening. And then Stephen Strange is like, well, I can't.
I know.
I'm kind of with Doom on this one.
Doom's kind of not such a bad guy in this.
Yes, but, and this is another amazing theme in the story, is that you realize why a hero is a hero. It's not because he has muscles or he has unlimited power. It's because he is willing to question himself and he's willing to do what he has to do. He has the courage to do it. Because Doom gets this power. He's always said, and they've done this in continuity in the comic books too. The Fantastic Four will go to Latveria to beat up Doom, and they go, the streets are clean. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I mean, the trains run on time. That's a specific reference to the Nazis, but like, maybe he's mean, but he does seem to know how to rule things or keep things going. And so Doom finally has what he wants. He's got the power to do whatever he wants, and he's going to make everything run on time and do it well. But he doubts himself. Yeah. Continually, to the point where you have to imagine that he has the power to be able to fix his face, but like just something in himself knows that he isn't good enough and he doesn't deserve this.
Right.
But not in the same way that Strange would refuse the power when offered him. Doom would snap it up and then regret taking it because he knows that he isn't as good a man as Reed Richards. And I love the fact that that is essentially the climax of the story.
Right.
Which, hey, I mean, if you want to do 6 pages of Dr. Doom fighting Mr. Fantastic, go for it. But I still think it sort of wraps up kind of fast in the 9th issue. I think they ran out of time. But he and Doom are fighting, and all Doom wants Reed to say is that he did a good job, basically. He's like, look, I did this. I took, you think you could have done it better? And Reed Richards is like,
yeah.
Actually, yeah, I probably would have. And Doom's like, I know you would have, you son of a bitch. Like, yeah, it's all about his hate for, it's amazing. Anyway, what do you want to say about it? I got a lot. I mean, I could go all up and down this thing.
I really enjoyed it. It was, I have to say, the way the artist draws women's faces, especially if
you're going to draw a mom and a daughter, at least give them different haircuts. Yeah.
Because I got to say, they were very confusing. They were interchangeable at parts. And even when you stuck the Black Swan in there, and there were suddenly 3 blonde women in one scene, I was like, oh, dear God.
Yeah.
Even though, like, the Black Swan at least has, like, a different costume.
Yeah.
So,
do you remember we read Uncanny X-Force for the show? He did some of that, a lot of that. And then I can't remember the name of the other guy that did it too. But yeah, I like him generally.
Yeah.
He definitely has, I don't really know a lot about technique in comics, but he has a different style, I think, than most. And it's that thing where when a penciler is rushed and they're not, or the guy that does the finishes is rushed, you kind of get like, it's a shape that doesn't have any detailing, and they threw some computer coloring on it, and there you go.
Right.
He does all the art himself. Maybe he needs a finisher. And so even when it's not, he clearly hasn't had a lot of time, it becomes sketchy, but it still looks sort of artistic. Like you start to see like individuals sort of hatching and stuff like that. Like he definitely has like a great mind for like how it's supposed to be set up.
Right.
The cinematography, to use comics' cousin film terms. But I didn't. There's some parts that are just gorgeous.
Yeah.
I really like the parts where, Jamie Braddock, jumps off the wall to fight the dead guys or whatever, the zombies and stuff.
Right.
And that was, I thought, an interesting commentary that they put Marvel zombies. Like, nobody wants that. Couldn't you just have maybe there was. So here's something else I should say. This isn't just a 9-issue series. There were a million. There were many, many, many spin-offs. Because here's the great thing about Doom's Battle World is that it isn't just a bunch of planets. It's a bunch of realities that have all been stuck together into a planet. And so you've got the part of the planet where the Nazis, where Hydra took over America, So it's like Hydra's president or whatever. And you've got the Days of Future Past world, and you've got the X-Men Inferno world, and you've got Mr. Sinister's world, and so you've got all these.
Wakanda.
Yeah, you've got is that just a world or something?
Well, it's part of Wakanda for some reason.
Just for some reason, it's part of Wakanda. Well, it's part of Manhattan for some reason.
Yeah.
And so you can go buy all those titles if you've got $500,000.
Right.
But there are plenty of other titles that you can go check out, for those things. But in this series, clearly Maximus is there to focus on the Inhumans, but why not? Where's Black Bolt? You know what I mean?
Wasn't he in it briefly?
He was in the very first issue,
and it was something
when
before, they got Black Bolt,
right before it was Battle World.
Yeah.
But Hickman, I presume, gets to choose who he wants to write here.
Yeah.
And he writes some characters that I hope one day someone will write again, but I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Like Reed and Sue Richards. And Franklin and Valeria. But then Maximus.
Right.
Where's Loki?
Yeah.
Where's Cap?
Right.
Why these people?
I don't know.
Spider-Man's in it, but barely. He's literally one of the survivors of the original universe. And so I just don't know,
And
except for the
Miles
fact that I think we
Morales.
had to see, we had to see, we had to have some people be like the witnesses of this new world. You could have just had everybody die, right? You didn't have to have anybody escape, because
They
if everybody
could've.
just gets brought back, because here's what we don't get to, since we're just focusing on this main storyline of the 9 issues. There are, like, there's our Thanos, like 616 Thanos. There's like 20 Thanos-I? That sounds like a good plural, right?
Yeah.
Or like there's our Spider-Man, but there's a ton of other Spider-Man. Just go over to Manhattan Noir or whatever. There's a Spider-Man there. There's MC2 Spider-Man down the way. Like, there's plenty of Spider-Man.
Right.
Something about our heroes, the original heroes, are the ones that are going to be the guys that lead this and, like, you know, destabilize this world and, like, cause the beginnings of a change back to normalcy.
Right.
Except we don't ever see that. Strange does this thing where he's like, get out of here. And all the heroes go into other books that you have to go read.
Okay.
And so then
I
you
see.
just go 3 weeks later, and it's like, well, I guess I should have read some of the tie-ins. Which I did. I did read, actually, a lot of the tie-ins. Like anything, there's good ones. And then there's, like,
Not so great.
not so good ones. So, what if the 92 cartoon X-Men came in and we're going to solve this one, sugar? Like, right. But anyway, at the end, we've just got, we got Maximus and Mr. Sinister are big parts of this. It's like, what?
I know. Well, I like how Mr. Sinister can get decapitated and still
Yeah.
stay alive.
Yeah.
That happens quite a bit to him.
Well, it happens quite a bit in the comic. Cyclops has killed that guy like half a dozen times now. And he just always comes back. There was also a lot of, I don't know if they're just cheap moments or Hickman is trying to make a point about power, but there'd be a thing like, I am Cyclops, now and forever, fire and life incarnate, I'm Phoenix. And Doom's like, all right, snap, dead. Or
yeah,
Thanos is like,
okay.
I'm Thanos, motherfucker, let's do this thing. Dead. I'll just pull your spine out. You're dead.
I know.
I'm Sub-Zero.
Like, I don't know, I blinked and missed the death of Cyclops somehow. Like,
Yeah.
I started the next comic and there was an X on his face, and I was like,
Wait,
oh,
yeah,
wait, he died.
Cyclops died?
So,
Yeah. Like Namor, it's significant that Namor and Black Panther are working together because I think I told you
is it an
off the
evil
air.
Namor?
No, Namor's just
He's
an
just
asshole.
kind of
Yep.
just always contrary.
He's just doing his thing. Although he totally disappears. And it's significant they're working together because they have been at war since the end of the whole AVX thing. And
Okay.
Namor stabbed him in the chest and pushed him off a platform onto an exploding Earth.
Oh my
so
God.
Namor's probably a little raw about that. Or T'Challa did that, so Namor's probably a little raw about that. So it's significant they're working together. But if Doom has erased Richards from existence and has made Sue Storm his wife, don't you think Namor would want a piece of that?
Yeah.
But no, he's not going to be a part of this. But it's hard to get mad at any comic that gives me Black Panther wielding the Infinity Gauntlet and fighting God Doom. Like that's
pretty
good.
awesome.
Want to do that? I'm trying to think of what else. Let's talk. What happens at the end?
I'm not sure. Like, Franklin is creating universes.
Oh no, that's at the very end. But like, I get that. So Doom is getting his power from Molecule Man, basically.
Yes.
And Molecule Man, who just never thought to do this before, I guess, but is like, all right, well, what if you didn't have any power? Now fight, you scrappy kids. And so Doom and Reed have an old school superhero punch 'em up fight, where eventually Reed gets the moral victory, and maybe a literal one as well. And then Molecule Man's like, all right, let's just put it all back. So that's,
yeah.
I guess that's what happens. But then meanwhile, we switch to Black Panther is fighting Doom, and the Infinity Gauntlet breaks, except for the time gem, and then he uses that to like jump to. Now he's just in Wakanda, and he's like,
I don't know
we're going to have
happens.
a Wakandan space program. Let's do it. Meanwhile, like what happened?
I don't know. Like, all of a sudden, he's like staring at the gauntlet, and then he's like back in Wakanda, and it's like,
Yeah.
did Franklin create our world again as it was?
Well, the answer is absolutely yes. But did you want to do a couple scenes where, like a montage where Black Panther's like, we're going to go to the stars, and like maybe one thing where Spider-Man is like, hey Miles, let's go swinging, and then Cyclops is hugging Emma somewhere. Like, did you want to show us that everything is sort of back to normal? Because ultimately, you can't start this series with all your heroes are dead, everything you ever knew is gone, Yancy Street is gone.
Right.
No, it's fine. Like, what has changed? We get that in DC's Crisis. We know, oh, okay, so Nitrous, that was Jessica Jones's third identity. Huntress is just a hero in our world now. She's not Batman's daughter anymore or whatever. Like, you have combined these, like Jay Garrick and Barry Allen and live in the same universe. That's what you've done with this. I want to know, that's why I said at the beginning of the show, was it literally just to get Miles Morales into this stupid universe?
I don't know.
Was that the whole thing?
That's a good question. I have a question for you.
Sure.
The Fantastic Four that exists in this,
yes,
are they from the Ultimates, or are they from our world?
I think the Ultimate Fantastic Four has been dead for a while. I think the Maker killed them a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's different. They don't have Reed Richards in them.
Right.
They have Sue's dad.
Well, that's the thing. So Doom has created his own world out of all these other bits of other worlds, which I'm sure there's some explanation why Doom knows that there's a Marvel Zombies world or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, why would he?
Right.
Why wouldn't he just remake Earth and try to keep it together as best he could? You know, where did he find out about Days of Future Past or Kitty Pryde and Peter Quill or whatever? Don't worry about it. So anyway, So what he's done is he's wiped Reed Richards from history. So the Fantastic Four still become the Fantastic Four, but it's Johnny and Sue's dad taking the place of Reed Richards. So there just was never a Reed Richards.
Okay.
And so when they meet later on, of course, Reed knows who Sue is, but she has no idea. She's like, you're the guy that killed Stephen Strange.
And yet, at the end, she's all chummy with him.
Well, at the end, you mean the end? At the end, they're all back to normal. See, this is
what I get confused about.
I've been talking about this for 15 minutes. After we get the weird interlude about the Wakandan space program, everything's back to normal. That's why I think we needed like a wide shot of like Earth. You're the Marvel universe. Like, everything's back to normal now. When Peter and Miles are swinging around, they're not swinging around in Manhattan on Battle World. They're on Earth. Like, our universe is back.
Right, I understand that.
Except for the fact that the Fantastic Four and the Future Foundation are trapped. Maybe not. Well, they're trapped by Ike Perlmutter's in Ike Perlmutter's closet. But they are somewhere else, like, creating universes now.
Right.
They went back to their planet with Poochie. I am not happy. I'm really not happy. But anything else? Any impressions that you got out of this? I clearly had a lot to say about it.
I do love that scene with Peter Quill and the sliver of Groot that turns into the giant Groot.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
I gotta wedge the Guardians of the Galaxy in there somehow.
Yeah. Hey, they had Lady Thor in this too, as well as Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
so...
and it's an extremely side thing, but I do like how she her role is like she sort of. There's a billion Thors, so she sort of infiltrates the Thors, and then later on, when the Thors are like, "What's going on?" she's like, "All right, I'll tell you what. This is what we gotta do. We gotta fight back against Doom.
Doom is evil."
And they're like, "All right."
Yeah. I like Doom in this too.
Yeah.
Because he's not a completely horrible bad guy, and I think that's what makes him interesting. He does save a lot of people, and
it's tougher to it's easier to pull trigger than to play guitar.
Yeah.
Easier to destroy than to create. He finds out that it's not easy to protect people. It's easier to blow things up.
Yeah.
And to be a despot. And yeah, he that's my thing about like being a hero has nothing to do with, or even being a leader, being a good person has nothing to do with your power. It's just, it's your sense of responsibility. And I like the fact that they didn't cram that in when Uncle Ben comes out and says it. You know what I mean?
Right.
They managed to get that theme in without beating us over the head with some Spider-Man thing.
Well, and I enjoyed his relationship with Stephen Strange, too, until he killed him.
Yeah, I like the fact, too, that it's like they had a secret, because that was the original Stephen Strange as well. And so they both knew that this whole thing was built on a lie, but they had to sort of keep it together.
Right.
At this point, do we now pull back the cover and go, this is just Game of Thrones, right? This is Game of Thrones.
Kind of.
This is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a bunch of different kingdoms. They're all scheming against each other. Stephen Strange is the guy who's the hand of the king, right? And it
kind of looks like Littlefinger.
And it's yeah, okay, I wasn't going there. And it all gets sort of set off when he gets killed, and so the king is trying to keep all these. Instead of Game of Thrones, it's Game of Worlds, right? He's trying to keep all these worlds from destroying each other. There's a wall with a bunch of zombies that live behind it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I swear to God, this is the final act of a long, long story that started way back in Fantastic Four, blah, blah, whatever, There is so much original stuff. If you like the strong moments of this, go back and read some of those issues because they all have moments like this. Sadly, it ends in what is clearly a pastiche on Game of Thrones. An enjoyable one. But once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Sure.
The Stephen Strange should have... Well, actually, he does. He wears a little pin. It's just an eye instead of a hand. He's the eye of the king. King's got a lot of body parts. Anything else you can remember from the comic? Why do they wear costumes? They're not superheroes anymore. In fact, there's a literal scene where well, it's very sad actually at the end where Franklin asks his dad like, "Are we heroes anymore?" And he's like, "Well, no, because Marvel won't let us. I mean, well, we're not heroes. We're something else." But anyway, the people on Battleworld, like, they're not superheroes. So why do like the Fantastic Four wear costumes?
It's a good question.
Here's a chance to draw a cool dress or something.
Right. For like Sue Storm, who's not a member of Fantastic Four anymore.
Right. Well, yeah. Fantastic 3. Yeah. I mean, just some of the things I can think of. I like the fact that the Cabal are involved again, but of course they don't really do all that much, at least not in the main title. The Switch is great because we spend all this time tracking our heroes in the Ark or whatever, and they lose Sue and like all the kids and everybody dies, and they've made it, but to what? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then we get this thing like, oh, they've found this Ark. Alex Power and his friends like find this Ark, and they're going to open it up. And they open it up, and it's Thanos and the Cabal, and it's like, oh, that's a great switch.
Yes.
Like you wouldn't expect that.
Yes. That is a good switch.
I would read a Thor's comic book where it's just like a bunch of Thors are all like, yon varlet, what wilt thou do? I'd read that.
I think I would too.
Thor's is filmed on location with the men and women of Valhalla Enforcement. Trying to think else. Yeah, Doom is surprisingly sympathetic in this.
Yes.
Arguably the main character.
I would
the passion of Doom.
say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think about at the end when he is young and handsome again?
That does continue into comics and the continuity right now. I don't know. I mean, if it's like, who did it? Was it Owen or was it Reed having been given the power by Molecule Man? Like,
I don't know.
It's probably that. Probably the second one. It's just an act of mercy. It's like, well, if Reed is going to recreate the universe, he could do what Doom did, and just, why does there need to be a Doom at all? He could just erase Doom. This guy who has made my family's life hell forever.
That.
No, of course. And he heals his face to boot.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he's a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think when he couldn't save his family
That was rough.
from the raft?
Yep. Those were rough. But then again, that's another one of those, I don't know, they just like, the heroes always find a way. And I think that there is value in telling a story where they don't. We have a lot of stories like that. Gwen Stacy, Karen Page, they usually involve girlfriends dying. But there are a lot of stories like that. But this one just, it felt really mean-spirited. I know we have to start that way to get to we're all in heaven and creating new universes together and exploring them. But it feels real like, all right, geez, stop kicking me in the balls, comic book.
Right. Like they just blew up 2 universes and now on top of it
and your wife and kids are dead. And
yeah,
you've lost every single thing there is.
Yeah.
But whereas a lot of other alternate universe stories have used that as a jumping off point to this is why Reed becomes evil, why he turns his back on the world, why he becomes someone like the Maker. Instead, this reads like, I'm going to get my wife and kids back.
Yeah.
I just want my kids back. Homeless stretcher guy.
Right.
Tom Jane is Reed Richards in Homeless Stretcher Dad.
Well, that was one other thing. Like the Maker, I was confused by that at first too. Like he's also,
you don't know about the Maker? Oh,
no,
you don't know?
He's also Reed Richards. And...
He's Evil Rick.
Okay.
So like our Rick is already, on the list of all the Ricks, there's 2 guys. There's the evil guy. This guy is really weird, right? Rick is, very close to evil. But if you imagine somebody like Rick who has no more to your grandson or family and no morality at all, who can travel through time, go to the universes, he's going to kill all the other Ricks. He's going to develop technology with no restraint, moral restraint. And that's basically what the Maker is. He's just like Reed Richards on Monster Energy.
Okay.
I really liked Ben Grimm being the wall or the shield.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of gets killed by Franklin.
Yeah.
But it was a good moment when it lasted.
He was like, do what you got to do, kid.
Yeah. Blow my face off. Star-Lord he's changed. The movies have changed Star-Lord. He was never like that before. Now he's this blonde guy who makes cracks like Chris Pratt. But I did like when he's fighting Black Swan and he's like, I'll tell you what, why don't you just back off before this becomes one of those I told you so things. I'm warning you, you can't win this. And that was good. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say. Would you recommend this?
I would recommend this.
Yeah. I've proven my experiment worked. Because you have, except for just knowing, it was Spider-Man, Star-Lord, awesome. You have very little background in any of this stuff, and yet
that's true.
This still works. It takes you a little while to go, so who and the what and the thing now?
Right.
But I think and that's why I think you've got the little, like, why did they do one entire issue to, like, this spat between Sinister and the Braddock brothers?
Right.
But it shows you right away, this isn't stopping purse snatchers. We're in a totally different thing here. And then they have the great device, and I kind of wish that it came back with the young kid from Avalon or whatever becoming a Thor.
Yes.
I kind of wish that he had played some part like in the end or whatever, but maybe it was just beyond him. But so we get to follow him, and then he becomes the character that's like, you don't know that the something. Like it was a pretty good device without seeming too devicey.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And there's a Thor with a boar head.
Yes.
What's his name?
Boar.
What if it wasn't? What if it was? Because like Frog Thor is Throg. But I know they road tested Fror. I know they did. So maybe I'm crazy, and maybe that character is from somewhere else. But I feel like Boar is sort of like an answer to to Frog Thor. It's like, why not just Boar? Or because his dad's name was Boar. I don't know. Or his grandpa's name. So I would recommend this as well. Go out and check it out. It's available pretty much anywhere and will be forever until they do Secret Wars 2, which is actually Secret Wars 5. And anyway, enjoy it while you can. Look, Star Wars is a real thing. Speaking of, usually we like to rotate companies, and we're actually going to not, because we have to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about Star Wars. And we're going to do that, and we'll read some comics about Star Wars to go with our Star Wars The Last Jedi review. And I wanted to read a series that I've heard a lot about and I've never actually read, but I've heard really great things. It is Star Wars Dr. Aphra.
Okay.
It's part of Marvel's new line. New, been a couple of years now, but they're more recent Star Wars titles. It's written by Kieran Gillen. And it is one of those stories I think that we always say we want, or writers say they want to provide, and we never really get them. And instead we get Rogue One, which is there's a bunch of new characters who are just guest stars in a Darth Vader movie.
Yeah.
And so this is a story of a character that is connected to Darth Vader, but goes off totally on her own. And we're going to see a new corner of the Star Wars universe.
Oh, good.
Starring Dr. Aphra. So that's what we're reading. Dr. Aphra, the first sort of storyline or volume of that. It's issues 1 through 6. Next time on Comic Book Club. All right, there you go. Good show. Fun show. Big show. The Incredibles 2 is going to come out, next year?
Something like that.
So it's been 14 years. They always joked that The Incredibles got made, and how long has the Fantastic Four been around since 1962?
Yes.
And they didn't manage to make a good Fantastic Four movie before Pixar made The Incredibles?
Yes.
Well, in between the time that we had The Incredibles until now, that's still true. And so we're going to get a second Fantastic Four movie. That's awesome. That's not a Fantastic Four movie. So
yeah.
Come on, Marvel. Come on. What? Come on.
I know.
The Marvel fanboy and the Merry Marvel Marching Society card-carrying member in me really wants this Fox thing to go through, even though the sane, rational human being in me is like, no, of course you don't want all the entertainment in the world under a mouse ear hat. Are you crazy?
Right.
But I kind of hope it happens.
I kind of hope it happens too.
I don't know why it's so tough to make a Fantastic Four movie.
I don't know why it is either.
They're a fun family that fights crime, kind of, but they explore universes and stuff.
Right.
It's fun.
It is fun.
It's clobbering time. That's another. Yeah, it's sad that there was no place to really fit that in.
Yeah.
When Thanos, when the worst tyrant that existed in your universe convinces you to go and
yeah, gives you a pep talk.
Kill God, and you get up from the wall that has become your body. You don't go, it's clobbering time. Like that's not the time to.
No.
Or make a crack about Yancy Street. Anyway, if you want to come down to our street, you can find us at Master of Transitions on Facebook and Twitter. Also, I want to remind you that we are on Twitch at twitch.tv/JustEnoughTrope. I think I nailed it. We're there. You can find us, follow us, chat with us, and talk with us, because that's where we are. Also, we are on your streaming services like your Apple Podcasts and your Google Plays and your Stitcher. So seek us out there. Find us. Subscribe to the show. The best way to get the show every week. That's how it's going to happen. Also, you can give us a review when you see us there, because we love hearing from the fans and knowing how you think that we're doing. And also, and this is probably the most important, give us a rating. The algorithm, the computation, how does it work? That's how it works. When we get ratings, that's all they care about. We love your kind words.
Yes.
Of praise. The computers love the ranking that you give us. And so when you give us a high ranking, we move up in those ranks and we get exposed to more people. We get sent out to other people, put on all kinds of stuff. And so that's the best way. And really the best way to help the show is to tell a friend. If you like the show, tell a friend. But in the meantime, give us 5 Groot toothpicks. That way, you can, save the world, or you got a little bit of barbecue pork in there still. You get that right out.
There you go.
How does Groot feel about this?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Poor Groot.
Yeah. Nobody buried Rocket, and
I know.
And there's a little sliver of Groot. Anyway, Chekhov's toothpick, really. But it's kind of subtle. Like, you see it in the first couple scenes and you're like, I didn't guess. I guess if you just thought like Wood / Guardians of the Galaxy character, it's going to be Groot. But I think they do it subtly enough that it's like, movie Peter Quill. I could see Peter Quill just deciding that he uses toothpicks now.
Yeah.
Maybe little Peter caught a late night showing of Cobra before he got abducted by aliens. So anyway, skip all that. Give us 5 stars. And that's how those computers will know that we're great. I want to remind you, we are reading Star Wars, Marvel Comics, Dr. Aphra, Volume 1. That's issues 1 through 6 for our next show for Comic Book Club, and a big review of Star Wars, The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I swear to be honest.
I swear to be honest.
I swear to not. I guess I can't swear to not have an agenda, but I will absolutely be honest. I'm hoping I'm going to like it. I don't know how I can at this point, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And so a review of that on the next show. And that's pretty much it. I think it's time to shut it down. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.